dogs get sick, they often bite the hand of those who fed them. Until someone mercifully puts them down.
How are you, man?
I'm fine, pal. How are you?
I'm truly excited because I truly love your movie. I am.
Thank you so much.
And one of the things that I truly enjoy the most in this trip that Laszlo has is that he escaped fascism to face capitalism.
Yeah.
Uh, to me, that's it's like escaping from something awful, evil, to face something challenging. This was something that you wrote as an inspiration that directly referenced that.
It is. I mean, it was precisely written with that in mind. I think that I generally start with a theme, and also a moment in time. Beyond like, I think a lot of people start with a character. I usually start with an era. I mean, something specifically that I want to dive into. And in this case, it was post-war psychology and post-war architecture and how the two are intrinsically linked.
Is there any special decision on choosing architecture as an example to create all this journey, besides of all the politics and the things that we see around?
It's partially because of the fact that, like filmmaking, it's a collaborative medium. It requires 200 to 300 people to make it a reality. And so it's very different than painting a painting or writing and recording a track, that one can now do in their bedroom. And so, it is the art that relies, the most on commerce, and only architecture is similar in that regard.
There's one little detail that I want to give you thank you because you put an interlude. For me, that I grew up watching classic films, I kind of miss that part. Like I have seen very few classic films in theater, but I watched your film in a theater, but I love that part. And it feels like we miss that break from the story. And in my experience, I feel the audience like lose interest in watching movies because they don't have that break. What do you think about it?
I totally agree. I mean, listen, I think that we need to make films cinematic if we expect people to venture out to the cinema to watch them. I think that eventizing movies is quite important now, and a film is. It doesn't have to be an American saga to be an event. I think that there are many examples when I think about films like Midnight Cowboy, Last Tango in Paris, Don't Look Now. These are very intimate movies, and yet they were radical movies. And so everyone wanted to be a part of that conversation. They wanted to see them to have a perspective to share. And I think that it's just we've been losing those major cultural events and happenings. I mean, they're fewer and far between, and we have to work harder now to make them to get them made. I mean, it's not a very easy time to make films, unfortunately. And there's a lot of contributing factors that has to do with the same thing that's happened to the music industry as a result of Spotify, Apple Music, and all the streamers. The movie industry has also been affected in ways that are, we're still working out, and they're very difficult to qualify. And yet, of course, the industry is changing, and mostly not for the better. So we really need to work to make movies, meaningful movies again.
Yeah. I know it took you 7 to 8 years to create this wonderful movie, and I just want to say to finish this, it was worth every minute of those 7 8 years.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot to me because it was very painful. So I appreciate it.
But it was worth it. Thank you so much for your time.
Much. No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Daniel, congratulations, man. This is an outstanding work. your music, it's another character inside this movie. And doing a research about you, I didn't know that you have a beautiful background in drawing, in visual arts. How this correlate with music when you have to work with Brady Corbet and this massive and for me this is a really impressive film.
Well, first of all, thank you. That's so nice of you. Uh, the drawing, I mean, Brady and I, since we met, we've kind of we connected a lot creatively, and we've always had a dialogue about our work. I mean, and had taste that shared taste in literature and films and music. He's someone that's interested in, obviously we both love cinema, but he refers to paintings when he writes, and he's as a director, you've got so many. You're working across a lot of mediums, like you're involved with costume and design and everything. And I think with the drawing, it's just another sort of. I mean, for me, it sort of always happens in tandem. I don't know how. Sometimes I don't know how it relates precisely, but yeah, it's always there.
I know, I know. Um, w- this movie it's so important and huge because we have this tribe of Laszlo that he started in Europe. Then we see him in America, and something important is what we hear. We hear different music when he's in Europe, more melancholic, and then when he's in America, it's a more vivid music. Even you mixture with jazz when they're in the club, when they're meeting girls and everything. And how was that conversation with Brady? Was when you have the script in your hand, or you needed to see it to know what kind of instrument or and what kind of tone do you wanted to give it?
No, we started working from the script. So as soon as they'd sort of finished the script, we started talking about the film. And then I went to live with him when he started pre-production in Budapest, and then stayed with him for most of the shoot. And that was partly very practical because the first day of shooting was the jazz scene.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to shoot to music, for example, like with the overture. So I was making demos on set, basically. That was always, from the script, was always a concern of how to, of that kind of journey through the eras. So evoking the 40s, 50s, the 80s. And a lot of it was kind of choosing musicians or instruments that could take on that scale. So like, for example, the piano, a lot of the percussion in the film is prepared piano, where you kind of put screws and coins in the piano strings, and then the hammers bang those, and it's got this kind of dum, dum.
Yeah.
But it also, but the piano is also following Laszlo's character when John Tilbury is playing this like beautiful melancholic.
I remember Brady because I had a conversation with him, and then he spoke in a Q&A about they were short on budget for the music, and they didn't know how it's gonna work. I mean, this is your creation. This is what you created with him, and you say that you move in with him, and I wonder how was that because the movie I don't know he was shot in a chronological order, but you have the idea that you wanted to create because when Laszlo wife, I give you an example. When Laszlo wife arrives, it became like a kind of type love story, and we kind of feel her feelings arriving to America and getting to her husband. And then there's a beautiful scene. That's probably my favorite when he tried to take away her pain. That he makes something that I don't want to spoil, but everything that happened is a show of love, and it's only music and them, looking at them each other. How was that conversation to create that feelings, those particular feelings, because it switched to a love story, like I mentioned, and for me, just so radical.
Yeah, that was. I mean, so Laszlo's theme develops into that kind of romantic theme that you hear with when you first see Ezra Bet. The kind of transition actually between those themes you can hear in the intermission is sort of, you can hear John working out the notes, and it's really beautiful what he did. But one of the ideas was that by the time they get to that scene where they're high and that kind of erotic scene at the end, the idea was that that theme would be kind of deconstructed. It's almost like the second half of the film starts quite optimistically, and there's a serenity, and then all throughout it sort of just gets worse and worse throughout the whole second half of the film. And by the time you can hear that kind of completely, that theme just deconstructed. And we recorded that live with Axel Dorner and his partner Karina, who played the trumpet, and my friend Joel Grip playing double bass. And I introduced the theme to them, and then we improvised around the theme. And I showed them images of Brady was using an in-camera effect from the VistaVision to kind of stretch the light out over the frame. And that was like one of the rare occasions where I brought imagery to the session.
Now that I can relate, because you have a background in drawing, and the movie, it's a brutalist. It's a guy who draw also. It's an architect. And that I find that really interesting, that mixture of arts, drawing, film, and your music. And I think it's beautiful. And you did an outstanding work, man. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Ruben. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Have a great day.